players in the room. A member of the U.S. national team from the same, or I believe the alternate from the U.S. national team,
Yep.
the same year that Sam Black and Michael Jacob faced off in the finals. And he just came off of a victory in Buffalo for the Star City Games Open Series. He's playing a lot of Magic right now. He's really excited about his deck choices. You can see Rug Delver, very traditional, like we were talking about for this format, and he's playing in standard mono blue wizards or mono blue Delver, depending on what you want to call the blue deck, which has some white mana in there.
Yeah, and Corbett Gray's playing Show and Tell, so this is a really classic matchup in this current format. We don't have the exact deck list they're coming right now, and so we'll be able to tell you what little differences they have.
Yeah, like those little details are such a huge deal too.
Okay.
Okay, so Corbett.
Yeah, so he's playing just normal Show and Tell. Like a lot of the Show and Tells are now like considering playing Omniscience. I don't believe I see any Omniscience in this version. So he's playing Spell Pierce, Lotus Petal. He's playing main deck Misdirection, which is actually I think this is actually much more of a sneak and show deck. It actually has 4 sneak attacks.
Yeah, this is Sneak and Show.
Yeah, so his creatures are the classic 4 Gristlebrand and 4 Emrakul. Okay, here we go. Carl doesn't start off with a Delver, just a Tropical Island.
And the first spell of this match is Brainstorm. That's a card you can expect to see a lot of, often referred to as the glue of Legacy. Though Patrick Chapin says that the glue of Legacy is an agreement not to break it.
So Corbett searches for an island in response, possibly like showing that he either has a Spell Pierce or maybe a Brainstorm of his own.
He also might be trying to dodge Stifle.
It's true.
Since Carl is tapped out. There have been, and the Spell Pierce, actually, he's actually doing something active with it. Walking around the room talking to players, a lot of people in this room are Stifle Rug Delver decks, and I have not seen that be popular in a while, but there was so much talk of it out there on the floor.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people were seeing in the last few tournaments, people just running out a lot of main phase kind of sack lands and things that actually like run into Stifle, so I think they're looking into taking advantage of that.
Now, if you see Carl without any green mana there, that Brainstorm might have kept him off of it. And Corbett, land, go.
Yeah.
We talked last round when I was with Robert Martin about the fragility of Rug Delver's mana. And you can see exactly what I mean here, where Carl is looking for a land to make action happen. He found it, I think, in Flooded Strand just now.
Yeah. It looks like Corbett actually has like Show and Tell and Sneak Attack in his hand, but no creature to play with it. So he's basically like biding his time until he can be able to find a threat.
Now that tap at the end of the turn from the ice portion of Fire Ice holding down that island, and the Flooded Strand finding a tropical.
Okay, so now that Carl has green mana, I think a lot of his threats can come in play. And I saw a Tarmogoyf in his hand, so probably thinking of playing that, maybe a different green creature, but almost definitely playing a creature this turn.
There's enough showing from Corbett that he should expect that this is a Sneak and Show or an Omni Show or some sort of show variant. And what he needs to do, Carl needs to get something in play and then hold the game for a couple of turns. So it's like a slight, tiny risk in doing something like he's done by tapping down that he won't have much to fight a counterspell war. But you know what? He needs to get a clock down first. He can't just sit and try to be a control deck. That's not what his deck does.
Especially because he didn't get an early threat, so he has no pressure. He's giving Corbett time to like develop some mana. So Corbett's playing a Brainstorm to try and find a threat. Didn't look like he found one there. He has an Intuition is part of Intuition, 2 Misdirections, a Sneak Attack, a Spell Pierce. No, actually just 1 Misdirection and a Show and Tell.
That is my favorite Brainstorm right there, the classic Ice Age Brainstorm. Some of the what is it, Masks, I think is the other one, and then there's some, I think there might be some alt art ones.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Masks one. It's
the hands to the temple.
Yeah, it's you know, shows a little merfolk brainstorming.
Now,
so yep.
Corbett definitely thinks of himself as a pretty balanced player, but this weekend he feels stronger about his legacy deck, and this is a powerful deck. When this deck showed up, and I think it might be fair to say that Dave McDarby might have been the person that popularized the resurgence of this deck. It really made such a huge splash that, I mean, I think Legacy is still feeling the ripples of it.
Oh, for sure. This is basically one of the benefactors of Gristlebrand getting printed in Avacyn Restored.
Absolutely. At Origins, I was wanting to play some Legacy just to have some fun and that kind of thing, and I kind of just brought Darwin Castle over. I'm like, hey, play this deck. Handed him a copy of Sneak and Show. He had never played it before, and he fell in love with it.
Oh.
And then he went on and top 8 in a Star City Games event with it. Never had played it before, like just a couple of pickup games, and he like beat me 8 or 9-0.
I mean, it's a super fun deck. I mean, you get to play fatties. You get to kind of like it's a bit combo-y.
Yeah.
There's some control elements in it. I think there's a lot to love about it.
Absolutely. It reminds me a lot of Tricks. We see a Ponder here from Carl Dillahay. Corbett spent his last turn just untapping and thinking and then passing.
Yeah, I may have thought about like putting down the sneak attack there, just to he may not want to tap down. That could be a good reason. But if you have a sneak attack in play, it really kind of like forces Carl to like either commit something to like commit more clocks to the table, which maybe like allow him to tap down and take advantage of that.
You can see the Tarmogoyf a 2-3 right now. I don't think that's correct. I think it's a 3-4. I think there might be a Ponder in a yard. Nope, no. It's Thought Scour, or not Thought Scour, it's Brainstorm, Fire Ice, Land. So
it's
just
2-3 until it hits the graveyard.
Yeah, okay, there's the Ponder. There's the Ponder.
Actually, I probably see Corbett casting Intuition at the end of the turn here, getting the threat and basically...
And the Goose comes out. It is not currently loose.
Okay, so...
EOT, Intuition.
Okay.
What is he getting this? Is he going to get the 3 creatures of some kind?
Yeah.
Pierce.
Let's see if it's going to be 3 Emeralds or 3 Gristlebrands.
Are we going to see a Daze? Is there a Daze?
There is a Daze in
Carl's hand.
There's a Misdirection. So but the problem is the Misdirection only has a show and tell to. So if he did actually misdirect, he would get rid of the show and tell, have only sneak attack to put whatever creature, which is likely to be Gristlebrand because he's so low on threats, I think.
Yeah. Does he have any? Does he have a land in hand? I think he has sneak attack and a land,
yeah.
Which means, I mean, he could get an Emrakul here and just obliterate Carl Dillahay's board.
It's true. I think he's fingering the. Yep, I think he's going for the Emrakul here.
And the plan here is that Annihilate of 6 will just turn Carl's board into nothing. And even if that means that Corbett won't have anything left in play other than, the good cards that he has, it'll be a land and a sneak attack, and he might have to wait a while to find a new threat. He'll have just torn up everything. He goes the other way. He goes the other way.
I think he just realized that he can probably just draw another... he can draw a bunch of Emrakuls this way.
And if you look at how this works, I mean, this is very, I've said this before, reminiscent of Tricks from, I guess that would be, 2001?
Yeah, about that. And
where basically he puts into play a card, in this case Gristlebrand instead of Necropotence, and then draws a ton of cards.
Gristlebrand's a lot like Necropotence,
yeah. Draws a ton of cards, and then has another Force of Will, usually, to protect himself afterwards. And the life gain, it's the same kind of situation, like Illusions of Grandeur.
And Corbett doesn't really, he's not in, grave danger of actually dying on the crackback. And I think that's what he's thinking is he hits for 7, goes up to 20.
Draws 7.
And then hopefully draws another creature out of that, and then pretty much finishes him off.
Well, what he can also possibly do here is get like a lotus petal.
Oh, yeah.
And then continue to go.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. If he draws a lotus petal and an Emrakul,
that's it.
That's it. The game is over right there.
There's the sneak.
Okay.
Sneak attack in play. 1 red to activate.
I don't believe there's a Force of Will in Karl's hand. It looks like a Spell Snare, a Fire Ice, and a something else.
It works. He lays Gristlebrand. He'll probably draw 7 right away, and he does.
Okay, so brings him to 6, but he'll probably attack before anything else.
Well, let's see if he gets that Lotus Petal Emrakul. I'm kind of hoping, just because it's awesome.
He did get a Lotus Petal, but not an Emrakul. But he did get another Gristlebrand, so
he can sneakily block.
Yes. He doesn't even have to block.
He doesn't even have to,
block.
Yeah. I might, though, just to be a meanie face.
And draw 7 on his opponent's turn?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I'm not saying it's the right play, but it sounds fun.
Okay, so, and he also drew a Force of Will, so he actually has protection from, like, you know, possibly getting bolted or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how. Karl may kill him this turn if he did. One thing that Karl does have is the Fire Ice, which actually allows him to tap down Gristlebrand next turn, if should he try and attack with it. Which actually, okay, so he is actually doing the play that Adrian suggested, which is like he's going to sneak a Gristlebrand on his opponent's turn, probably block the Tarmogoyf.
If only there were not a Fire Ice to fight that.
Yeah, the Fire Ice is pretty huge.
It's
because
going to get a Force of Will, right? Like, I think he forced this.
He has to force it. No, he's misdirecting.
Wow. There. Okay, tap my Volcanic. Well, let's do something instead. Let's see if I can fight you. Nope.
The Ice does still draw him the card. I just hope they remember to do that at the end. I think they will. So Corbett will likely block the Tarmogoyf, draw 7 before the end of the turn, and from his side, hopefully draw Emrakul in the next 8 cards.
We see the block. The Gristlebrand destroys that Tarmogoyf. Gains 7 life for Corbett. 3 damage hits him from the Nibble Mongoose, and he has Force of Will in hand. Still,
yes,
he's going to have 7 more cards.
He might even have 14 cards. Like, he actually goes up. He goes up 4, so he goes to 17. He actually, if he wants to, can draw 14 cards to try and guarantee getting an Emrakul here.
He does 1 at a time, you know, see what happens with the first one. Do I get what I want?
Well, 7 at a time, I guess.
Yeah, 1 at a time meaning 7. Is that good enough?
No, there's no creature there. I think he's gonna. He is going for another 7. So he has this Emrakul, shows the Emrakul, and Karl scoops. Kind of like showing the brutality of Sneak and Show. I mean, Karl didn't really get to a really fast start, so he kind of paid the price for that of not having the green. Corbett was able to, construct a hand with a sneak attack and a Gristlebrand. I mean, once you have start drawing 7 for a few times, it's really, really hard to lose, especially in a format as powerful as Legacy.
I think that Gristlebrand is one of those cards that makes me wonder if cards like Bargain, Yawgmoth's Bargain, could be unbanned.
No, I mean, there has been some talk about Bargain. I mean, a lot of people think that Bargain's worse than Gristlebrand because trying to cheat in an enchantment is much harder than trying to cheat in a creature. But I think there is some kind of advantage for being able to draw 1 at a time. I think combo decks probably probably deal with drawing 1 card at a time a little better than drawing 7 at a time. Though obviously Gristlebrand has lifelink. They're both extremely powerful. I think I'd be happy with just 1 of those in the format at once rather than both of them. But they probably do very similar things.
we can see that from the sideboard, Carl Dillahay has access to 3 different blasts. Well, red elemental blast, pyroblast, a total of 3 there. And what do we have on the other side? You got red elemental blast again.
Yeah. So
Defense grid.
Defense grid and through the breach. I'm trying to work. I don't think through the breach really comes through on this side. I think the red elemental blast obviously comes in. Defense grid.
I love the defense grid in his sideboard. That's an awesome card. Defense grid. If it's not your turn, your cards cost, I believe, 3 more.
Basically, it means that you can't counter on your opponent's turn for the most part.
Yeah, but you can counter on your own. So let's give by way of example. If the game goes late enough, you could lay your threat. Let's say it's let's do show and tell. Let's say it's a show and tell, and your opponent has up 5 mana. So they go spell pierce for 4. But your counter spell on your turn is not affected, so you can still do the fight.
Yeah, so you can spell pierce right back, and he can't do anything. He can't even like force a will. He needs 3 mana to force a will, which is like huge.
Yeah, Corbett, that's a great sideboard choice. Corbett has had 2 Star City Games top 8s, and also top 16 in a Grand Prix down in San Diego. It's near you.
Yeah, no, that's like.
Did you like walk to the Grand Prix?
No, it wasn't that close. I mean, the West Coast is a pretty big place.
On the right here, Carl Dillahay. He's one of those people. He's kind of got a cool as a cucumber way of playing. He doesn't really particularly get phased. I've seen him get mad. but I've never seen him like.
Oh really?
Yeah, like I've seen him like there was just basically the kind of thing the bad judge call like gets under his collar, that kind of thing.
No, it's really easy to kind of get a little bit emotional in some of these high tension situations.
Yeah.
I mean, tournaments can be really, really taxing and really stressful in some cases. So
absolutely.
Okay.
But yeah. I mean. It's one of those things where you can see he's got a smile on his face there. He just lost his first game and he had a little smile going. The 2 players here joking with each other a little bit. Carl not letting that first game get under his collar.
Okay, Corbett is mulliganing. Looked like he didn't really have any way of cheating a creature into play and had a lot of the expensive creatures. So just one of the things I do think is I mean, I think we've talked about it being a really important skill is mulliganing, but I think in Legacy specifically, there's a lot of range for mulligans. Like things about brainstorms, ponders, they basically allow many, many more hands to recover from mulligans. And so I think one thing that players out there can really, really kind of skill up on is learning how the extent of how you can mulligan.
Absolutely. One of the reasons, if you remember when Street Wraith was first printed, a lot of people started jamming it in all of their decks and thought, oh, this is going to be great. But while a brainstorm or a ponder can make a hand a little bit more keepable or make it easier to recover, it also makes it yet another decision point while you're in a mulligan process. Is it worth keeping your 1-land ponder hand when you've got an expensive set of spells like Sneak and Show under the presumption, what if you miss? Yeah,
no, actually we had a discussion that if you had 4 Gitaxian Probes, no land and Delver, do you keep it? And 2 other cards.
Well, let's ask Brad Nelson.
Corbett's still looking at his hand here.
It looks like a frowny face there.
Yeah, it does not look like one he wants to keep. I can see a Force of Will from this angle, but I can't really see anything else.
It's funny because I think I see a sneak and tell, or I'm sorry, a sneak attack. We see a misdirection, Force of Will, sneak attack.
Okay, so he has no blue mana. He has an Ancient Tomb as his only land.
Now, Carl does have 4 Wastelands.
Yeah, so it...
in his deck.
I think Corbett hopes to draw a basic island or a sack land so he can get a basic island so he can cast turn to Show and Tell, because he does have 2 free counterspells. So he's forced to lead with the Ancient Tomb. So leaving himself a little bit...
oh, natural flip.
Oh.
And it's a daze.
There's no wasteland in hand, so he's safe from that.
I know the secret.
And the daze does kind of like... is a little bit demoralizing because he has a force of will, but daze easily counters that force of will if he draws an island or a blue source next turn.
Daze, force of will. That's rough.
I don't like where Corbett's in.
Yeah, I would not want to be. I would not want to be on Corbett's side of the table at this moment. Oh, doctor. Oh boy. That is a squire.
It is just a 1/2. I mean, he drew a second Bristlebrand.
And pass.
Yeah, he really actually, at the very worst, wanted to draw another blue card because he has a misdirection and a force in hand, and I think only has show and tell as the other blue card. So he really wants to try and draw another blue card.
In for 4. We're going to see a fetch land and a pass.
Okay.
And he says go. Corbett looking for that land.
Oh, he kind of has to go all in on the Lotus Petal, I think, or at least he maybe had to wait.
He could wait. Like at the clock here, he has not seen a ponder. I'm sure that Carl would have main phase brainstormed, so he can assume that there's not going to be library manipulation.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you just sit back and.
Oh no, he's going for it.
Oh wow, he didn't even give Carl a chance to counter the Lotus Petal. Wow. Well, that's a sorcery, an artifact, and an instant about to hit the yard.
Yes. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a cast daze, and then it'll be a force, and then a pitch daze, or a free daze.
He lets that daze be countered.
What's happening here?
And then he casts another daze on the fresh stack, and Corbett's like, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah. He didn't really have anything after that. He didn't have another show and tell.
We talked earlier about how Corbett kind of feels like his legacy deck is going to be his slight strong arm here. And Carl says his big strength in here between legacy and standard, that he favors draft.
Not going to be so useful at the Invitational unless he's playing in one of the draft opens that are going to happen on Sunday. So,
well, and he doesn't want to be playing in that event.
No, I don't think he does.
Now, I expect what we're going to see on Sunday, that draft open. I'm going to make a prediction. I've had a lot of called shots that have worked out. I predict that Saul Malka will win the draft challenge here on Sunday. I don't even know if he's showing up, but I would be unsurprised if Saul Malka doesn't just do what he always does and be like, there's a draft event somewhere, I'm going to come win it.
I think he showed up at one of the Open Series and did that very thing, actually.
He's won them twice.
Yeah, I mean... I didn't even know he still played Magic, really, so I guess he's just reading every card as it goes.
No, he plays Limited still. He plays. That's all he does is play Limited these days, and I know a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Saul Malka, famed inventor of the Rock. So if you are a fan of the Rock, you can thank Saul Malka.
Though the Rock decks that are out now are nothing like the Rock decks that they don't really have any sort of token generators. There's no equivalent of Phyrexian Plague Lord.
And you know that is the Rock right there. It's the Plague Lord.
Okay, so Corbett's now on the play, so I think will be much happier about that, because I think he needs to really make sure that Carl doesn't get the jump on him. Though obviously he can still, like, Carl has a lot to fight with dazes and forces of will. So
I mean, this was an ideal draw for Carl. A turn 1 Delver natural flips, and he follows with a turn 2 Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
And then has daze, force of will. Yikes.
Especially because the natural flip was a daze. It was very, very kind of like demoralizing, because Corbett knew for sure he was running his force of will into that daze. So he had to use that for the daze.
I do still find it a little funny that Corbett put down the Lotus Petal and just was like, oh yeah, this resolves, let's keep going.
Yeah, actually, if you're Carl, you could consider dazing that, I guess.
I mean, you could. I'm not saying you should, but I was just like, A little speed demony.
So Corbett's back in the tank here. I think
Misdirection, force of will, misdirection, land, sneak attack.
Yeah, I think so. Which is not really the fastest hand, though it doesn't have the creature he needs. It is a little bit dicey of a hand, but he's keeping it.
I think I see Ponder, Delver, and then we'll see more of the hand in a second.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see turn 1 Delver, is my guess.
These misdirections are kind of gumming up Corbett's hand. I mean, like, obviously free counters are really important and everything.
Turn 1 Delver.
Oh, another
turn 2 go. And the Brainstorm is probably going to guarantee... Oh, he just goes for the natural. Doesn't bother to brainstorm it. That's fine, too. I mean, Carl wants a clock, but it doesn't need to be lightning fast.
Yeah, I mean, and it's going to be like 2 damage less. I mean, the next turn is clearly going to like brainstorm in main phase or end of turn.
And he goes in for 1.
Corbett still has a pretty slow hand. His last turn he drew another sneak attack, which is...
Does he have a creature even?
No, so he's really not got anything of the stuff he needs. I mean, I would say the best card he could draw right now is a Brainstorm. He really needs to get rid of some of those kind of clunkier cards.
And Carl shuffles away a nothing, I believe, Brainstorm. He's already got Manipulation in his hand.
No, no, he had
with the Ponder.
Ponder, yeah.
Yeah, he shuffles away.
Oh.
Nothing, Brainstorm, I believe.
I see.
Yeah. Oh, pardon me. Misspoke. I knew it was a copy of a card we already seen. It was nothing, Delver. And he draws a Daze off of that Ponder.
He is, like, he's got red Elemental Blast, Daze, Fire Ice.
Corbett.
Corbett.
Ancient Tomb in there?
He drew Ancient Tomb, which is actually one of the better cards he can draw here. He can run out one of his sneak attacks.
And he knows that there's a Daze there, but I mean, he's got an extra sneak attack.
Yeah.
Just getting rid of that Daze seems fine.
It definitely seems fine. I think maybe you just try and... He's not under huge amounts of pressure. Maybe he just waits. Because there's no point playing into a Daze if you can avoid it. There's no pressure here. I think he may just, like... He did main phase search, so it does seem to imply he's probably going to just run his sneak attack into a Daze.
I think he's planning on making it into a semi-little duress. You know, it's a 4-mana duress, but...
Oh, he doesn't know there's a Daze, right?
No, he...
Like he hasn't...
Oh, he does not know. You're right. He does not know that there's a Daze. It's reasonable to presume that there might be one.
Yeah. Oh, he actually has an Emrakul. My bad. So there's definitely a reason to...
Daze, and we're going to see the fight.
Yep.
Misdirection, tossing, Force of Will.
And then he's going to be a red Elemental Blast coming from... Funny thing is, Carl has like red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast. There's actually a functional difference between the two. Red Elemental Blast cannot be misdirected because it says it needs to target another a blue card.
Yep.
But Pyroblast actually counters it if it is blue. So there is a little bit of a difference there.
Right now, Red Elemental Blast is considered the better card in a way, whereas in the past, Pyroblast was, because Pyroblast could target things that were not.
Yeah.
And that was actually of value.
I don't know how many times you're going to be targeting kind of like Skulking Ghosts, but I guess...
But it was a thing. It was
absolutely.
a thing. In like, what, 1998?
I think when it was a thing, it was like, sometimes you needed an empty hand versus a black vice or something like that.
That was actually it. Though... I do definitely remember hearing people tell tales of the Skulking Ghost. And we see the Brainstorm here, main phase. Okay. And
so he's running. He's got a. So Carl has a Force of Will.
Responding to that sneak attack with a fetch.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to search to see if he has any other options besides pitching his Force of Will. Like, hopefully getting another Daze, I think, is probably going to Brainstorm here.
Brainstorm.
Looking for another Daze, I think. 2 Ponders and a Wasteland.
The Wasteland will be great if he can make this turn work out.
Yeah. The bad thing for him is that this Force of Will is going to going to get countered.
This will clear out Corbett's hand.
Yeah, it will
But
clear.
I mean, a sneak attack is in play and an Emrakul in hand.
So, okay.
Go. Okay, so Carl has the Wasteland for the red source.
Yes.
And he has to then essentially do a little bit of prayer.
Yes, so basically there's no red coming forth from Corbett's deck. The worst part of it is that he didn't... He actually should have set up the Delver. He actually drew a Wasteland, so the Delver did not flip. I'm not sure exactly. I think he might have just made a slight error. He should have kept the Wasteland in hand instead.
And we see Carl draw a Daze, which I don't think he wants anymore, honestly. I mean, the fight is over. Now it's trying to keep red from happening.
And pretty much he doesn't have that much control over whether red happens or not. So if Corbett does draw a red or a sack land, it's Force of Will, so this Delver needs to flip for him very quickly. Oh,
there's the Scour.
Okay. Actually, missing the Delver flip last turn was probably could end up kind of haunting Carl here.
In for 3, going to 9 for Corbett Gray. And main phase Thought Scour, probably?
Yeah, I think he's just looking for...
more pressure.
Yeah.
Oh. There's a fetch land.
Oh,
Lays it.
Carl has a Bolt in hand, so...
Is that a fetch?
It is a fetch. Oh, no, it's not. It's a defense grid.
Oh,
it's a defense grid.
And end of turn Bolt. There we go.
Yep.
I believe that puts Corbett to 6.
Okay. Oh, Pyroblast? No, that doesn't really do anything.
Doesn't do much. Go to 3.
So he needs a red source.
Oh, boy, and I think that's it.
Wow.
Yes. Oh, Corbett.
Yeah,
wow.
just Carl, like, getting the Wasteland to keep Corbett off his red, so